Happy Tuesday, everyone. Thank you for joining us on The Avenue. Let's get started. It's springtime. The weather is great, the country is reopening, and we're starting to see a nice decline in the number of COVID cases. Although we're not completely in the clear, it is so nice that we are beginning to see the light at the end of this tunnel. With everything being open, people are ready to get out and start spending money. That means vacations, birthday parties, amusement parks, or even just a nice meal at a restaurant. All of these things are great. But once the vacation is over, we want you to still have money in the bank for your day-to-day expenses and responsibilities. The Financial Empowerment Ministry is hosting Building Blocks to Financial Success. These free virtual workshops began this past Saturday and will be offered via Zoom every Saturday this month from 10 a.m. until noon. We're talking about improving our personal finances and building generational wealth. You can register for these workshops on our website. Also, if you'd like to receive weekly financial tips and updates from the ministry, text WABC to 84576 and select Weekly Money Tips in the Economic and Social Ministry section. High school seniors, it is now time to register for the WABC Educational Grant. Each year, all graduating high school seniors who have been members of Wheeler Avenue for at least 1 year have the opportunity to receive a grant as they head to college. This year is no different. The deadline to apply is Friday, May 28th at 5 p.m. All applicants are required to attend the mandatory online courses and submit the required documents in order to be eligible for the grant. For the full checklist and application, head on over to our website. And if you have any further questions, please contact our Minister to Youth and College Students, Reverend Richard Boone IV, at rboone@wheelerbc.org. In the mid to late 1970s, people in the United States became aware of a disease that would later affect millions of people through the decades. Tonight, we're talking about the human immunodeficiency virus, also known as HIV. This is a virus that attacks the body's immune system, and if it is not treated, it can lead to the most advanced stage, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, more commonly known as AIDS. 1 in 7 people with HIV in the U.S. don't even know that they have it. Having claimed the lives of nearly 33 million people so far, HIV continues to be a major global public health issue. However, with increasing access to effective HIV prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and care, there is still life after a diagnosis. HIV infection has become a manageable chronic health condition, enabling people living with the disease to have long and healthy lives. I mentioned last week that we minister to the total person at Wheeler Avenue. And here to speak with us this evening are 2 representatives from the HIV Support Ministry. First, we will hear from Ms. Deloris Scott, one of the original members who helped form the HIV ministry. Thank you for joining us on The Avenue. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm great. You were a part of forming this ministry here at the church in 1989 in the early stages of HIV in the United States. Being HIV negative, what was it that drew you to joining or being a part of something like this?
Well, it's really my profession.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a research scientist by profession.
Nice.
And I had worked for Dr. Bob Gallo, who characterized the HIV virus.
Wow.
I was a part of his team in Maryland. That's where I was living at that time. And I had a wonderful church home and everything. My mom got sick and I had to come back to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So my first prayer was for a church home. The Lord said, will. I said, what? and I prayed again and the same thing 3 or 4 times. So I said, okay. And I did it, and I came and I sat in my pew and did nothing but listen to the sermon and come back each Sunday. And in the bulletin was this call for people to join this ministry. I said, oh, I can do that. You know, I'm not afraid of the virus. I'm not afraid of people who have this disease. So that's how I got involved in this church, through this church. So I came for a reason to be part of the HIV ministry. That's what I believe.
Now, you said you weren't afraid of the people. How important is that for you to not be afraid of this virus?
It is very important. People feel your fear or your backing off from them. So you have to be really comfortable in doing this ministry at that time in particular,
right.
You know, because you would have to hug, you know, you would have to share a meal with them. I mean, not eating with them, but sitting down with them and just being their friend. And we always call them friends. In our ministry, everybody we touched was our friend. And so that's how you do that. You have to be comfortable with that.
So I could imagine at that time, everybody wasn't just coming forward immediately, being open about their positive diagnosis. Where were you all able to find people to bring them to the ministry?
Well, it was it was an organization and a firm, FRIM, that started. These were 2 hospital chaplains who saw the need in the hospital that people were dying alone. If they talk about COVID, they go back to what the HIV AIDS was.
Right.
Even the nurses, some of them, did not want to touch these people. And so they felt a need for the church to participate. And they just called up churches and got people involved.
Nice. Well, what was your relationship with the families of those patients?
Well, I still have relationships with some of the families and friends that we gave care to. They send cards, call up once or twice a year. It's just been a great relationship.
Yeah, especially because at that time, you know, a positive diagnosis was like a death sentence. Right.
It was a death sentence.
So after the patient had passed, that care continued and that support continued throughout that time. Nice.
And actually, we planned and paid for a couple of funerals. We were the family members sitting on the front row in the, you know, because they...
Beautiful.
And we had bonded so closely with them, we couldn't afford for them to be cast away somewhere.
That's great. How different is the ministry from when it first began? Because now we have so much more information, so many more resources, and different ways of treating and preventing the virus. People are living longer. So what is the biggest difference that you would say from back then in the beginning until now?
Oh, it's a great difference because I know 6 people who was diagnosed back in the 80s that are still living today.
That's great.
And although we don't visit like we did early on with them, we do contact, phone calls, meet for lunch, celebrate a birthday with them or something like that. It is much easier now than it was back then.
Great. Well, this is an award-winning ministry, so talk to us about some of the many awards you all have earned.
Well, the first award that I remember, and it's really probably of all of them that we received, that one was most special to me. We, firm, was contacted by an organization that's different, and there was some design industry something, and they wanted to celebrate people who had been involved in giving care to people with HIV/AIDS. So they wanted to give it to Firm, and Firm said, no, I have 2 care teams that you can give our award to, and it it was, we were one of those teams. And there was a big affair downtown, and it was the guy who was president of Enron and folk like that. Wow. And then the two of us. It was a big difference in the way we looked and the way they looked, you know. But anyway, so that one was really most important to me because it was about the work that we actually did with the people. A lot of our awards is because we showed up somewhere and did, you know, participated in different things. But that one was truly about the people that we gave care to.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you so much for your fearless leadership and doing the work. And thank you for joining us here on the Avenue to talk about this wonderful ministry.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Now we will hear from the leader of the ministry, Miss Tiffany Quinton. Thank you for joining us on the Avenue. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You are an HIV overcomer and advocate. Talk to us about that. What is your story?
My story is when I got diagnosed, I was 26 years old. I had a 9-month-old baby. And what that didn't look like real to me because I was just becoming a new mommy, and I was in a relationship dating. So when I got a phone call from work, I just come back off maternity leave, and I got a phone call saying that I needed to go and be tested for STD. And that was not anything unnormal because I know I just delivered, so I knew I was okay. So to my mishaps, when I got to this clinic, I understood that, you know, they needed to talk to me, and I got the news that I was HIV positive, and the lady that had given me my results had never given positive results before, and she told me I was getting ready to die.
Well, you've talked about dating with a disease. What does that look like before we get into the ministry?
That looks like a normal life.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be upfront with your partner or whoever you're dating at that time, because it can still be manageable. We all need somebody to love, and we need to be loved, and your support system is everything. But my thing is, you have to be upfront with that person because you don't get the chance to take somebody else's freedom from them. Mm-hmm. Put all the cards on the table, be fair, let them make their decision.
So you had a newborn baby and you had your partner. Did you immediately tell that person what you had just been diagnosed with?
I had to.
Okay. You did?
I had to tell him because I had already slept with him.
Okay, so how was that conversation?
That was a conversation that I don't want to ever have to have again.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't understand the logistics of how to tell. But I knew it had to come out.
Right.
So I called him from work one night, and I told him we needed to talk. So he said, well, come and meet me and follow me home. And I did that, which was not a normal for the date night. So so we got home and got behind closed doors. And he took it better than I thought he was, because it was hard, and he was a paramedic at the time, so he understood. So it wasn't like he was getting ready to kill me.
Yeah.
But it hurt me because I had to tell somebody that I had just fallen in love with that I've got HIV. Right. And this is my life now. So I cried, and when I got ready to leave, he wouldn't let me leave. I had to spend the night, but we slept in separate rooms because it just wasn't what I wanted to do. But I knew, to be fair and to give him a chance to live, I knew that had to happen.
So what did that mean for the baby?
So the baby had to be tested. So we got the baby tested, and back then in 95, everything wasn't as up to date as it is now. You had to wait 30 to 72 hours. And that was the hardest 72 hours any mother wants to wait, because you don't know. And when they call you and you have to go down there, the lady called me and told me the results were back. And I just told her, I said, I'm not coming until I know he's okay. She said, well, Miss Quinton, I can't tell you that over the phone. So finally, she reluctantly gave me the results, and then I could go down there and sign what I needed to sign for him to release the paperwork. But that was my hardest pill to swallow, besides telling my mom and my grandmother. That was the hardest pill I had to swallow.
Right. Well, let's talk about ministry for a moment. When did you decide to get connected with the HIV ministry here?
I want to say it was 2016.
2016.
I made a phone call. Actually, I made a phone call, and I was trying to get connected because I needed to do some work, because I was stagnant where I was, and I wasn't doing anything. And God told me I was on my assignment, and my homework hadn't been turned in. So I got in touch with Barbara Williams, and she gave me Candace's phone number at that time. And so Candace said, well, we're going to the Omega House, and we're going to do. I said, well, I'm not a part of the church. She said, well, you don't have to be a part of the church. You can just come and see if you want to join the ministry. So I said, okay, I did that. And I got to the Omega House, and that was just what I needed. It blew me out the water, the work that they were doing.
So what does the ministry do here?
Well, we do testing outside of here, which we do we do the walk. We raise money for the walk. We have a HIV meeting and support group every second Saturday of the month.
So what would you say support looks like if someone is recently diagnosed or has been living with it for a while? What does support look like both in the ministry and, with family and friends? How can one support an HIV positive person?
The first way you can support is show them the love. Be there, because you can't catch it from just us sitting here talking.
Right.
You can hug on them and love on them, because at that point they're down. They need the love. They need the extra attention. And just be an ear. Be that vessel that God was to us.
So if someone who is HIV negative would like to join the ministry, how can they serve in that ministry?
Well, we have a lot of people, a lot of members that are HIV negative. They can just come and contact us at the church through the website and join the ministry. We would love to have them.
Lovely. Well, you look wonderful. So what is life like now after over 20 plus years of after receiving your diagnosis? What does life look like now for you and your family?
Life is good.
Good.
Life is good. My support system is everything.
That's awesome. And your family, how's your son? And
My son is fine. He's 26.
Nice.
My mom is doing well after the diagnosis, because she didn't want to talk about it, but now she'll talk about it. And she tell me I'll talk to a fence post about it now. But, life has had to come out. And I tell people that are HIV positive, if people turn and shun you, they wasn't for you anyway. You want everybody on your team that's going to love on you and support you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on The Avenue. And once again, how can someone get connected with the ministry if they would like to be a part?
You can call Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church and ask for the HIV ministry leader, and they will give you the numbers to the church, to the contact person.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for talking with us today.
Thank you for having me.
thanks again to both Sister Deloris Scott and Sister Tiffany Quinton for the transparent and informative dialogues this evening. To everyone watching, I look forward to sharing with you next week as we welcome Dr. Barbara Williams to talk about mental health. Until then, make sure that you are following our website and social media pages for the most up-to-date information on what's taking place at Wheeler Avenue. I want us all to be intentional about spreading kindness this week. You never know what people may be going through, and you just might save a life by being nice. Have a great week, everybody. Although we can't be together physically, you're still on the avenue.